Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Behind the Line with Chef Danny Davies, where we discuss cuisine, collabs and cocktails. Hi everybody, Chef Danny Davies here with another episode of Behind the Line, and today we're in Fort Lauderdale on a beautiful big boat with a good friend of mine, Myria. Tish. How you doing?
Hi, I'm Myria.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you again.
It's been a while, eh?
Yeah, it's been too long.
Yeah, I think the first time I saw you was probably 3-4 years ago in the Bahamas.
Yeah, it was a high and by.
Yeah, yeah, it literally
Actually,
was.
a Bahamian. We spent so much time there.
Yeah, you were taking the lines off and we were dropping the lines on, and it was like, hi, see you later.
Yeah, everyone say hi.
Yeah. So tell me, how did you get into yachting?
Well, I was actually getting my master's in fashion design.
Oh, wow,
SCAD.
master's degree.
Mm-hmm. And at the time, I was a personal trainer, and I was cooking for clients prior to that. And then I decided to follow through with being a fashion designer. So I went to school at SCAD, and I met a guy from New Zealand who worked on a yacht, and we got into a relationship. And when the school ended, he said, oh, you know, you really love cooking. Why don't you come and join the boat and help pay off your student loans? And that's basically how I got into yachting.
So what was your first job? You go straight into chefing, or you do something else?
It was a stew cook position.
All right, stew cook. Yeah, what size boat?
60 meters.
60 meter.
Yeah, it was a brand new fed ship, so I got that.
Oh, I love
fed
ships.
Yeah, I got that whole introduction of going, you know, joining a yacht while it was in the yard.
In the yard, doing the final stages.
Yep, the final stages, and getting it put together, and that's how basically my first boat was 16 meters. So it was pretty nice. It wasn't the usual dock walk situation. I got very lucky to get to this boat. Mm-hmm.
And so you spent a lot of time. So you did stew chef means you do a bit of both.
Yeah,
right?
I did mostly. Our boss had used the boat quite often because it was a new build, so there wasn't really too much stew work that I had to do. So I just got into the galley, and then after a year, I just enjoyed it so much that the relationship didn't work out, so it wasn't really a comfortable position, place for me to be. Mm-hmm. So I ended up going on my first sole chef position. And
so you did a year. Sorry, you did a year as a stew chef, and then straight into
a sole chef.
On what size boat?
It was 42 meters.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Private or charter?
It was private. My boss was from Texas, and she wanted a chef that, wasn't arrogant, but just kind of getting their feet wet in the industry, and they're just so eager to learn and, do new things. And that was my first job. So it worked out perfectly, with my experience and what she wanted, and her being from the South. It was just the best job ever. She was like my second mom almost.
That's awesome.
She was a great owner.
So cool. And then you carried on doing different boats, or?
Well, I stayed on that boat for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I just liked her so much. And then she ended up selling the boat. And at this time, I got into a relationship with somebody from Italy. Mm-hmm. So I worked in a restaurant in Italy for a little bit. And
what an education, eh?
Yeah, it was great, having a boyfriend that was Italian and being in Italy and, working in a restaurant. And then from there, I got onto another boat. They were Irish. So I worked on that boat for a season in the Med. And then when the season ended, they liked me so much, they said, we're going to kidnap you and take you home with us. And at the time, I wasn't just chefing, I was also their personal trainer.
Oh, okay.
So it worked out perfectly. So I went, season ended in August, and I moved to Ireland in September.
That's fantastic. So you say personal trainer, you're quite into your fitness, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're really well known for your fitness.
Right. Yeah. It's something that I live and breathe every day. It's very important to me to have that balance of being able to exercise and work on boats.
You're one of the people that's really inspired me during the lockdown and the pandemic and everything. I would see your videos of you working out in the galley, and I was like, well, we can do this too. So I started working out in my galley too. So I want to thank you for that, because what a massive inspiration.
Getting more widespread, people are using their small spaces for I call it a jail cell workout.
Yeah.
It fits it perfectly because of the size of space, and sometimes.
So do you have any races or anything coming up soon?
I do. I just finished an ultra marathon last weekend.
Wow. So what's an ultra marathon? How many
it's just anything over a basic marathon, which is 26.2 miles.
So what did you do?
I did 31 miles.
31 miles.
Yeah, because I sprained my ankle around mile 8. So I had to tape it and just keep going. I didn't really have another choice but to do that. I wanted to finish, and unfortunately we missed the cutoff time. It was 4 o'clock to finish the last 18 miles, and we missed it. We came in at 5 o'clock.
Because your ankle was bad.
Because of my ankle, I kind of just had to get my trail poles out and just hop along on those for a long time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's some dedication. But
you
lead quite a dedicated life, right?
Yeah. The thought of quitting just never really occurred to me.
Tell me about like a usual day for you, like out at sea or at anchor or, in the Caribbean somewhere. What's a usual day for you?
Well, it depends on the guest trip and how many guests that we have on. That's how I kind of choreograph my workouts around that and what I'm able to do. Normally, depending on what my exercise goal is, am I working towards a marathon? Am I just lifting for the high rocks? What it is. I'll get up at 2:30 or 3 in the morning if I'm training for a marathon and, run 20 miles before I have to get into the galley. I'm very fortunate because my boss, if it's just him and his wife, they have breakfast at 8. So I can easily get a 4 or 5 hour run in before, I can kind of slide into the galley because their breakfasts are not too much to handle. But if we have a full house, like 10 or 11 guests on, then I normally just get up around 4:35 and smash out like a weightlifting exercise routine and then come into the galley about 6:37, depending on the amount of workload I have to do.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then you just normal kind of yacht chef day.
Normal kind of yacht chef day, get in.
But it's just you here, right? And this is a 60 meter, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of work. So for me, kind of knowing ahead of time what I'm going to, have the menus ready, having all my provisions ready, that helps out a lot. Just being super, super organized, super focused, wake up, just have the intention just to have a sense of urgency throughout the day.
Yeah.
I kind of just live with that. There's not really a time where I'm just kind of relaxed. I mean, even on my days off, it's just always something to do. Yeah. Unfortunately, sometimes I think people might be my downfall, but
I love it.
I'm just a very focused, disciplined person.
I love your posts on Instagram as well. When you see that you have got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and you have done a 20-mile run. Yeah, that's fantastic stuff.
I will always wake up, no matter what, to train before work. That's a given. Now, the time that I wake up is according to what I want to do, what kind of workload I want to do for exercise, whether it's run or whether it's just lift. And then if I have a chance around 1 o'clock after the guests have eaten their lunch, I'll go for a second workout or a second run that afternoon. It's just a matter of what I'm trying to achieve, what my goal is. Am I, training for the ultra marathon or just, a high rocks event, which is weightlifting and running.
Yeah. So we talked earlier a little bit about your diet and what you eat. Can you explain that a little bit to me?
Yeah, I try to focus on mainly just having a vegan lifestyle. I do have to cook meat for the boat and for the crew. Not everyone is a vegan, but for me, before the season, I'll try to prepare some things. And unfortunately, sometimes I'll have to freeze them and then just rewarm them up. Or I have a lot of protein shakes that I go to. My daily ritual is always getting up and making a fresh juice and then, making different shots of maybe ginger and turmeric to have throughout the day in the fridge.
So will you do that before you go and run?
No. It'll be after I run. I'll come back, I'll juice, I'll have my protein shake, and this is basically all while I'm trying to prepare their breakfast as well.
So one of the questions we always ask is if you could cook for anybody at all, in history, alive, dead, whatever, who would you cook for and what would you cook for them?
Well, because I'm such a diehard athlete, I would have to say David Goggins.
David Goggins, hero of mine as well, hey? What an amazing guy.
I'm not really sure what he eats, but just to sit down and talk to him and pick his brain, I'm not sure if he's a vegan or not, but I would love to make him one of my high protein vegan burgers to show him, that you don't necessarily have to eat meat to, get energy from food. I don't know if he'd be on board with that, but could be flexible. You never know.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Where do you see kind of the yachting industry going? Is there anything that you'd like to see change or different things that you'd like to see happening?
Yeah, I think it's the recycling, maybe the reduce of waste on boats, but definitely trying to get more boats on board for recycling, having some kind of a system for it. Helping the crew become more aware, especially these little plastic bags everybody likes to use on the boats. That's what I'd really like the biggest change to be. As a matter of fact, in the future, what I would like to do when I have some time off is go work on one of the recycling, the boats that go around and they pick up the plastic.
Yeah, there's 4 ocean boats.
I think it'd be like
right?
a free gig, but I would like to donate my time. I feel like as chefs, it's really in our best interest to give back,
For sure.
what we get every day.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, the amount of plastic you have in the kitchen is crazy, isn't it? When you go provisioning, it comes in plastic bags, everything's in plastics, and we strip all that off to put it into our fridges and store it.
Right.
And it's a huge amount, isn't it?
Well, not just that, but we're sometimes in these remote islands, and you have to be very respectful that these people do not have a recycling system. And where is this plastic going to go?
Yeah.
People say throw out, but where is out? So I think just becoming more aware of that and getting people on board to be more consciously aware of that too.
And what's next for you? What are your plans?
Let's see here. I'd like to get more involved in, my vegan recipes. So maybe taking some plant-based courses would be nice. Yeah, abroad. Something I need to research. This boat's pretty busy, so I haven't had time to really decide where I'm going to do it at. But it's definitely something. And
you have a race coming up soon, right?
Yeah. I have a race next weekend.
Next weekend? Where are you going? You're doing it here?
I did one last weekend, but this one is in South Africa.
South Africa.
Yeah, my boyfriend is from Durban, so we're going to fly to Cape Town, drive to Stellenbosch, and we're going to race in the mountains in the vineyards. So
fantastic. What race is it? Is it just?
It's called the Maxi race. It's from France. Mm-hmm. I think there's about 6 or 8 of them. It's an ultra marathon, so it's 50 miles.
50 miles.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, 46 miles, 75 kilometers.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it.
So you have a kind of a diet you were telling me about. You want to tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I went to India about 6 years ago to visit one of my friends, and because I'm so into eating healthy and holistically, she suggested that I go to Kerala to learn about the Ayurvedic diet.
Okay, so that's like food is medicine, right? Right.
Food is medicine. There's a dosha test that you take, which basically tells you, it asks you questions about the strength of your hair, your energy level, just certain questions like that. And then it sorts out the foods that you should be eating that are best beneficial for you.
Mm-hmm. So that must be difficult to be vegan and do this diet as well, right? You were telling me earlier you've dropped some of the things out that you eat.
Yeah. I think cheese is part of it. Naturally, it says that I should be a vegetarian. So that worked well already with the diet that I follow. There is some cheese in it, like paneer, but I just cut that out. I just cut all animal products out of what the diet suggests, and it still works really, really well for me. Yeah. I take a lot of Chinese medicine as well, Chinese herbs to keep up my nutritional level and my energy level as well. So that's good. That helps a lot, that I found.
That's awesome.
Getting acupuncture too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So training and these huge races that you do, how do you deal with the recovery from that?
So recovery is very, very essential to me, especially going to the chiropractor, because we as chefs, we're on our feet for, 14, 15, 16, 17, many hours a day. So it's really important that, you have a strong core. So that will help you, sustain these long hours. But when you're on your feet long, you need some extra help. And I find that going to a chiropractor is beneficial to me. It kind of lines me back into my well-being. Yeah. And I just get a lot of acupuncture treatments.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen some of your posts with the acupuncture and cups as well. You use cups?
Yeah, I've actually got my own cups on the boat, so I'll do cupping. I have these sleeves, so if I go for a long run, I can just kind of
I've seen
lay in my cabin. Yeah,
what do they do? They
sleeves on.
Pulse your legs and move your
They bring the blood back to that area to nourish it. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose you need that though once you've run.
Yeah, but they also help too, because being a chef and working these long hours is almost like training in itself, because your body, it just takes such a toll on you. Yeah. So I use a lot of my recovery for my training just from being a chef. I have one of the guns, the TheraGuns, so I use that. I ice my body a lot. You'll see me in here. Yeah, you'll see me in here with an ice pack in my back, just working away. I do a lot of stretching. I have a foam roller. I have equipment in my pantry that I use.
Yeah, I saw you got some weights and kettlebells.
Yeah, I just incorporate that to my recovery. I just I try to keep my floors very clean, because I never know when I'm going to need to lay on them to roll out my back or to stretch. that's a good thing about having a better sized galley.
Tell me a little bit about some of the races that you've done in the last few years.
In the last few years, I pretty much dedicated myself to marathons and the High Rocks race. This is a race from Germany. It's similar to CrossFit. It doesn't have the CrossFit name, but it does have some of the same exercises. We do rowing, we use ski erg, we have sled pole, sled push. The sled push for the pro division that I recently did in Spain was over 300 pounds. So, it takes a lot of strength for that.
Yeah.
So being in the galley, I'll just fill up a pot sometimes and just squat with it.
Just squat right there.
Yeah, I have my kettlebells. But that race, I did first one in 2019 in Miami. And I got second for that. The next one I did was in New York. Thank you. And I got second for that. And then I qualified for the World Championship. So unfortunately, that was the year that COVID hit. So they kept pushing it back and pushing it back. Then I was able to compete again last April in Dallas. And I came first for my age division.
Awesome.
And then I flew to Germany in December. And I did the pro division. And I placed second in that.
Fantastic. And you do all this by working 14-hour days on the boat,
right?
Sole chef, doing all the provisioning, all the food for the crew, and all the food for the guests.
That's right. Yeah.
Like, how do you stretch things? How do you make it work for you?
Just about being resourceful of what you have and just staying inspired. For me, going into being a vegan, thinking about, because I need my vegetables. If that's all I'm going to eat, then I need to figure out how am I going to eat. And so that's when I realized that I could take this pulp and dry it out, mix some other things with it, some mushrooms. And
how did you dry it out? You got machines?
I didn't have a dehydrator on that. I just put it in the oven.
Straight in the oven?
Yeah, straight in the oven, dry it out, and mix it with some other vegetables. But that was usually the base of it. And then ground up some bulgur wheat with that, added it to it. But I tried to figure out ways that I was going to be creative with not having as much produce as I normally could as a yacht chef. We're pretty spoiled. We get to
we are
get whatever we want to get.
Get the best stuff.
Yeah, but when you get put in a position where you have to be super resourceful, I think it makes you a stronger chef too. It makes you realize you can't abuse the fact of having this over plentiful amount of fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, reducing that food waste right down, trying to use everything.
That's the most important thing to me, food waste.
Definitely. So what happened then after that? So you jumped Papua New Guinea, you spent a long time on the boat.
Right. I was about 9 months on that boat, and just for my mental health and well-being, I got off that boat and I staged in a restaurant in Bali for a few weeks, and I really enjoyed that. I wasn't able to get a work visa in time, and then I realized I kind of wanted to go back to restaurants and take a little break from yachting and learn things that I wanted to, that I felt like I wasn't truly knowledgeable. Yeah. So I went into baking. I went to work in a Michelin star restaurant in the pastry.
Doing pastry.
Yeah, just to get really inspired. I think a lot of us are hot chefs, but we're not pastry chefs. And though I do have a background from education in pastry, I wanted to get more involved in that, in a professional way.
Yeah.
So that would just make me a stronger chef and bring a lot more to the table.
You went to a Michelin star place
in California, which was a phenomenal place to live because one of my favorite chefs growing up, Thomas Keller, he has a restaurant there. And
Per se, right, isn't it? Or it's French Laundry?
Per se is in New York, and he has a restaurant in Napa Valley, the French Laundry.
French Laundry, yeah.
Yeah, that was just down the street. So Napa Valley is a great place because I'm a strong believer in farm to table. And that's truly the place that you want to be. It's very inspiring, just be around all the organic vegetables and fruits. And my restaurant, I would actually go with the hot chef to the market and to go shopping with him. And that was a phenomenal experience.
Fantastic. How long did you do that? Did you feel the pressure? Michelin star is very high level, right?
Now that you mention it, this is another thing I want to touch on is, I have been in restaurants before where it was abusive, where I've had pans thrown at me, and especially being a female chef, we have to really take it on the chin a lot.
Yeah.
But he was such a calm chef. He was on the hot side, I was in the pastry, but just to see him work and having that Michelin star that I believe he's had it for over 6, 7, 8 years now. And he was so calm and so peaceful with people that it made me realize as a chef, I don't need to have all that. It can be high energy, but a high energy positive way.
Yeah, no,
you don't have
stress
to
and
yell,
negativity.
and be abusive to people.
But that was the thing though back then, right? In
yeah.
The 90s, it was Gordon Ramsay and people screaming at each other, and
But that was, I think, one of my biggest influences was working with this chef and him just being kind to everyone and respectful.
So how do you do you have like a way of dealing with the stress nowadays? You have rituals that you do, you meditate?
Yeah, I wake up in the morning and I'll meditate for a good 10, 15 minutes. I have a gratitude list that I always go through as soon as I wake up. I think it's important to, let the universe know that you are aware of what's happening, and
so you share some gratitude, some affirmations, and that's what you meditate on.
I chant, and then that's when I start my day, and I always exercise. That's the most important thing for me, is to wake up and exercise.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Behind the Line with Chef Danny Davies.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. See you next time for more chefy content on Triton News.